Hi everyone, this is Revolution Ricky here at my house, in my office, at Casa de Revolution. Yesterday, we lost one of the giants of hard rock and metal music, Ace Frehley. He co-founded the group Kiss with Gene, Peter, and Paul. And today, I'm doing a little bit of a retrospect of his work in Kiss and going to show off a few of my Kiss items, vinyl and CD, that I have. My wife bought me this magazine when I was on the mend for my foot surgery, and I had loved Kiss since I saw them uh, in the '70s when I was a little boy. I thought they were from a different planet, and because of the makeup, you could swear they were from a different planet. Especially Ace, because he caused inspired a whole generation of guitar players, like later on, Zach Wild, Gilby Clark, um, the list goes on and on. You know, John Five, Dimebag Darrell, um, who, well, have been influenced by this band, and of course, some artists that haven't been, you know, were influenced, but went on to different genres of music. Like Garth Brooks with country music. Um, they all love Kiss, and they all loved Ace, the original four. Um, I saw Kiss three times in concert. Once in 1990 on the Hot in the Shade tour, a day before my birthday, and twice on their farewell tour with Ace and Peter uh, in Pensacola, Florida. A friend of mine went with. I was supposed to take this girl, but I can't even remember her name. Years had blended in, and she bowed out at the last minute. Um, and I had taken a buddy of mine, and we went and had a great old time. And um, this was in April of 2000. And then in August, I had went to go see Kiss again, and same two bands opening up, Ted Nugent and Skid Row. Um, I had went there by myself and met up with a friend of mine who's passed on. He was a big Kiss fan, by the name of Brian Reese, who also was a wrestling fan. He had passed away years ago, and always loved Kiss, and dressed up as Paul Stanley when we went to the concert. I mean, we met up there, and I went alone this time. Um, I think my buddy had moved, and it was just myself. And my sister was kind enough to fund the tickets for me. And you know, yesterday when I got the news that Ace had passed away, I was very upset because of Kiss's. Despite their political leanings, um, I really don't care about it. Um, I draw the line at Kiss because they helped me get through some of the worst times in my life. They got me through breakups, hookups, just some real bad stuff. And I've got a Kiss collection in my boxes over here. I just don't feel like digging it out. It's just too much. And then over the years, I just tapered off and collecting anything Kiss because, my house is small, and I'm married, and you got bills and food you got to buy. So I'm just gonna wing it from here. Um, you know, I guess I'll start with the album that brought me to the dance. I guess I could do this. I don't have much as far as vinyl, and the stuff I do have, is either on cassette. It's in these boxes somewhere. I just can't find them. So I do have a couple of his solo records. I do have the Ace Frehley Kiss solo record he did with the hit New York Groove. It's somewhere around here. I just don't feel like cutting it up. Well, maybe it's in this box up down here. Let me take a look. You can see my 5 o'clock shadow. Sorry, give me a break. Let's see. What I got here. Rush. Thought I might have had it here. I got a lot of stuff in here, but no Kiss. No, I don't see it. What's this? No, don't have it. What's this? X-Men video cassette. Okay, like I said, I'll start at the stuff I do have. Of course, the debut album, Kiss, self-titled. I actually rebought this last year or the year before. I was on the mend for my foot surgery, and it was celebrating its 50th anniversary, and I loved it. I do like this album. Because I'm going to try to get this on vinyl when I can. It's a great album. I like the songs, Cold Gin that Ace wrote. Kissin' Time is a good album. Deuce, Black Diamond, with Peter on vocals. And, produced by Richie Wise and Kenny Kramer. It was all that. I like that one. Really love this one. This one actually was the album that really brought me to the, my favorite Kiss albums, so to speak. It's got some mold on there, I guess, but Hotter Than Hell. Really like Hotter Than Hell. It's got the song Got to Choose, Parasite, Going Blind, Let Me Go Rock and Roll, Watching You, Mainline, Strange Ways, Coming Home. Had this on cassette, and had the majority of my Kiss albums on cassette, but they had what was the words I'm looking for? I got stolen because I came back from New York and some idiot stole my Kiss albums from the bus. So I got and here's the one I really don't like at all. Music from the Elder. Really don't like this one at all. Doesn't grow on me. Hate it. Even Ace hated the album. It's supposed to be one of those albums that tells a story, a concept album. I guess they were going to film a movie, but the movie didn't. The movie plan fell through. And I guess I'll go ahead and show off. I'm going to go ahead and show off my Kiss albums that I do have on vinyl. I'm going to put some other stuff away because I had, Anyway, I guess I'll go ahead with the album that really brought me to the dance. This one my grandma bought for me when I was 8 years old. I had just watched a movie uh, that had Kiss in it called Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, where they're basically superheroes. And from their makeup, you know, in that movie, it was produced by Hanna and Barbera. Kind of, their version of A Hard Day's Night meets Star Wars. But then again, really, they really didn't care for the movie too much. I guess it was just capitalize on the popularity of Kiss and to keep the people, the fans going because But my grandma bought me this a week after I had watched the movie Love Gun. It doesn't have any of the inserts, and it's scratched all up. Still plays pretty decent. This is the only Kiss record for years I had in my collection. I acquired Animalize later on, and with Heaven's on Fire. Long story with that back in the 80s, because the album had a couple of songs that at the time, I was only maybe 13 or 14, and I loved that album, but my aunt made me take it back, and because of, it was Heaven's on Fire, and then they had the song Burn Bitch Burn. I didn't care. I liked music and I liked that album, and I thought it was a good album, but they made me take it back and get Rod Stewart instead. Nothing wrong with that. It just wasn't for me. And my Kiss fandom grew after that, But this is the album my grandmother bought me back in 1978. Love Gun. And it's still still got it to this day. Don't have any of the inserts or the cover to it. Like to get that so I can just put that in there so I can have it complete. Here's the record, black record. Nothing special, not even a gatefold. Wish it was, but but this album has always been a favorite of mine because it's got the title track, "I Stole Your Love," Christine 16, Plaster Claster, and of course the Ace Frehley song "Shock Me." Moving along, I'm just picking these at random. These two actually were sold by a buddy of mine. Either he sold them to me or gave them to me. I can't remember which one. I think he might have given it to me, but I can't remember. But he either gave them to me or I bought them from him for a very cheap price. I think I paid like $10 to $20 for the both of them. But Alive, Kiss Alive. You could see that the cover is all torn, it's beat up. It's got the gatefold with the 3 CDs, Kiss, Hotter Than Hell, and Dressed to Kill, and the notes that they have. You can see that the seam right here at the end, it's split. Records are not special. I think these are original pressings. I'm not real 100%. I know there's multiple pressings, but I'm pretty sure these are original. I mean, I can't tell, but I think my buddy got a lot of they paid for a unit, and these were in there, or they just bought them and they were given to him. I don't remember, but he gave me, or I bought these from. I really don't remember. I'd have to ask him. He actually had the original pressing of Creatures of the Night, and I was going to buy it from him. He wanted $40 for it, and I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'll buy it from you. Just give me a while to get the money together. And well, he gave it to his brother, and I said, "Oh, I was going to pay for it." He goes, I know." I said, "Oh well, I'll get it back eventually." But anyway, and then he sold me a live too. This is um, also a gatefold. The cover is really horrendous. Yeah, it's got all the hits, like Detroit Rock City, King of the Nighttime World, Ladies Room, Making Love, Love Gun, Christine 16, Shock Me, Hard Luck Woman, and it's got some, title tracks, some studio recordings like All American Man, Rockin' in the USA, Larger Than Life, Rocket Ride, which Ace had done, Any Way You Want It, which is a Dave Clark 5 cover. Uh, you know, I guess this is a original pressing too. It's not that bad. Of course, it's a gatefold. I was digging these out about an hour ago, and it's oh, what's this? Oh, it's got one of them. It's got one of the covers. It's all beat up, but yeah, it looks pretty good. You can tell it's seen better days. It's got the list of albums right here. I always loved Kiss. Like I said, they've gotten me through some of the worst times in my life. And they just got, when Ace had passed, when I heard, I told my sister, I said, I texted her, I said, look, there's a rumor going around. I don't know if it's true, but it seems to me that Ace Frehley has passed away or was on life support. I need you to check it out. And she goes, okay. And I think about an hour later, the news had broke that he had passed. But this one, actually, I bought for like $1 at a yard sale. I saw it in the thing, and I think like a week or two after I had seen it, I had or was it a month that I had watched Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park again, a late night. I was telling my aunt and telling my dad, who they were very religious, and I believe in God too. That I was going to watch Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. He goes, "No, you're not." I said, "Dad, it comes on at midnight. It's nothing wrong. It's just them in makeup. They're actually playing superheroes." So I had to peek around the door. I was staying up real late, and I had to peek around into the hallway and see if they were asleep, and they were still asleep. And by the time the movie ended, he goes, "You're not." He woke up later after the movie had ended. He goes, "You're still not watching that movie tonight." I said, "I already watched it." He goes, "Oh." He says, "Well, you can't fault me." I said, "Dad, it wasn't nothing. It was more or less like a superhero movie." What do you mean? I said, "It's like it was done by Hanna-Barbera. It was the same guys that did those cartoons." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, never mind." But anyway, I picked this up like a week or two later after I watched it again, late night in the 80s, double platinum. Doesn't have the poster of the platinum album. It is a gatefold. Picked this up real cheap for like $1. I think it has one of the covers in it, or I might have put in a cover in it just because I didn't have anything. But oh my God, is it a pain in the butt to get out? There's the vinyl. And the vinyl's an okay shape. I wish it would have had some of the. Good Lord, it's stuck in there. Come on, plus, what's in here? What do I do? Get glued? Oh wow. Never mind. I guess it's glued in there. I could have left instead of live TV. Again, cut me a break. Start the lip. I guess it's glued in there. I'm not going to do it. I'll just do it a bit later. Gosh, more things are falling off my fingers. I might have to get a smaller wedding band. I'll just put this right here. And I'll take this out of here. Oh, I should have stopped for a while. I may have to get a new. This was really written. It was really flimsy. I'll just leave it out. I'll get some covers for it later on. I need some covers anyway, so might as well. And you know, I'll go ahead and show off the other record of Double Platinum. This I actually played a lot. You know, when I went and saw Kiss in 1990 with a friend of mine, I had Eric Carr was on drums and vocals, and Bruce Kulick was on guitar. And they had played a song that I'd never heard of. You know, I've heard of all these songs before. You know, like Strutter, Hard Luck Woman, Calling Dr. Love, Let Me Go, Rock and Roll, Hotter Than Hell, God of Thunder, Deuce, Rock and Roll All Night, Beth, Cold Gin. But at that point, I had not heard Black Diamond. And I thought Black Diamond on there, when I heard it at concert, was a great track. And I really went home and I looked it up and I found it and played it, and I thought, oh, that doesn't sound like Eric Carr. And of course it was Peter singing it, but Eric Carr did a great rendition of it while he was in Kiss. And you know, Eric Singer done his version of it, but Peter had made it popular. But I bought this for like $1 in the 1980s. It was after my, and this, or I don't remember. And this one I actually picked up in the 80s. It's not a gatefold. I paid $1 for it. You know, at the time, record stores were getting rid of their vinyls because they were converting to CDs and cassettes, and they were selling out their vinyl records at a cheap price. So, you know, I struck while the iron was hot. I had a turntable on my record player because I had a stereo that I'd gotten for Christmas one year, and I could play records when I could. And I think 92 it finally gave up because, you know, it burned out, so I had decided to trash it. But I would hook it up every once in a while and play records if I wanted to. And then it stopped. So I had picked this one up for like $1 in the 80s. The debut album from Frehley's Comet, Ace Frehley. It has the song Rock Soldiers, Into the Night, Fractured 2, which is an instrumental, Love Me Right, Dolls, Stranger in a Strange Land. And of course it's got Anton Fig, who would go on to play drums in David Letterman's band, and he played drums on some of the Kiss albums like Unmasked. He played on Dynasty. And like I said, I picked it up for like $1. And it was just the album on Megaforce Records. The vinyl is in great shape. You know, he was signed to Atlantic. I hardly ever played it. So this is the original pressing of the Frehley's Comet album. You know, it really was the one of the better albums. I always loved Ace's stuff. Um, because his albums were more uh, oh god, what's the word I'm looking for? His albums were a little bit more better, uh, sound wise, than the Kiss records. I think, not that Kiss was holding them back, but Kiss had really wouldn't use his music, so to speak. I mean, you would hear songs here and there by Ace, what he wrote, like Cold Gin, Shock Me, Rocket Ride, and then later on, he would do his solo material like Frehley's Comet, Trouble Walking, which he does the rendition of the ELO classic Do Ya, and his last solo records, like Spaceman and Anomaly, those records I always thought, well, the Ace Frehley albums were better. Those albums were better than the Kiss records like Sonic Boom and Monster. Now, I may get the third degree for that, but it's just my opinion. I thought that they were a lot more better sound quality in those two albums that Ace put out than the last two Kiss records, because, with Monster, it sounded like they were just out of ideas. And the thing was, they had something with Revenge. They should have stuck with that formula, but they dropped the ball when, they could have went on from that album to whatever. And Psycho Circus is a good album. I like it. Live the Millennium Concert is a good record. I like it. But if I have to be fair, I think that in my opinion, and this is just mine, that the last solo records by Ace were better than the last two Kiss albums. Yeah, I mean, not, now that Kiss is no longer a touring band or recording any more music, it, it was a shame. I think that Peter and Ace should have been used as equals in Kiss than just hired guns. And even though I love the band, I think they did Ace and Peter wrong. I love Gene, I love Paul, I love Ace, and I love Peter. God rest Ace Frehley's soul. He's probably up there with Dimebag, Cliff Burton, Eddie Van Halen, playing away. I mean, heaven just got a lot louder. And, Jimi Hendrix is probably teaching him what he knows. And it's just a real shame that we lost the original Spaceman. Nothing, no disrespect to Tommy Thayer, no disrespect to Eric Singer, but the original band, Kiss, Peter, Ace, Gene, and Paul, those were the unit that made Kiss what it is today. You cannot, there's that stuff that nobody can take away from them. And when I saw them in 2000, it was just a rock and roll party. I mean, you didn't need alcohol, you didn't need drugs, you didn't need any of that stuff. Of course, I drank back then, but I don't drink now. I'm happily married. I've been sober for over 20 years. And I've been smoke free for a lot longer than that. But it's just me that all I had now it's just music. I have no hobbies because I don't collect comic books no more. I'm retired from that, and I'm retired from going to comic book conventions. Um, it's just that we had lost one of the giants in hard rock music, and Ace played like he was from a different planet anyway. Um, and I'm surprised, he recorded such great music with a solo band, with his solo material. I mean, uh, Anomaly, I thought was a great album. I was like, oh my God, this album is really fantastic. And then I bought Spaceman, and he did the Steve Miller classic Joker. And I thought that was even better. And I was like, my God, he's really hitting them out of the park with these albums. And when I went and bought Sonic Boom and I bought Monster, I was like, could be better. I mean, Sonic Boom was okay. Monster was okay. I mean, it sounded like they were out of ideas. I was like, oh boy, okay. But the Ace Frehley albums, when I listened to them, they were a breath of fresh air. Um, I had listened to the Gene Simmons solo record from the '78, and I listened to the A Hole album, uh, which is a good album. They did a rendition of Firestarter. I think it was by Prodigy or Rammstein. Oh, I can't remember. But those albums were a lot better than, the Ace Frehley albums were a lot better, I thought, in my opinion. Because he was really going out there and playing, and he was touring. He was in Pensacola a couple of years ago on tour, and I talked to a friend of mine. I think I was still on the mend for my foot, and I talked to my buddy and I said, "Look, maybe we should go see Ace Frehley." And he was like, "Nah, I got to work." I said, "Okay, well, some other time. Maybe he'll come around." And unfortunately, he was actually going to go tour and had to cancel because of this, because he had fallen, but we didn't know the story about what had happened with Ace. So I just wanted to pop on here a little bit and give a little bit of a retrospect. Um, it's been a sad day. It's been a sad year. I mean, this year we've lost so many uh, giants in the entertainment industry, and you know, I think this past year has just been very hard. We had lost in sports. We had lost Steve Mongo McMichael due to ALS. We had lost Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys. We had lost Hulk Hogan, the 12-time World Heavyweight Wrestling Champion. Malcolm Jamal Warner, and of course Ozzy Osbourne. We lost him, and now Ace Frehley. And we lost actress Diane Keaton, who was phenomenal in Godfather. And it's just been a sad, sad year. I'm like, hey, Heavenly Father, take a vacation. I better not say that. But we just lost so many people who influenced us. Kiss had gotten me through the rough time in the 80s. Well, really in the 70s when I was a little boy. And then the 80s when I was getting into girls and cars and music. And listening to hard rock metal albums. I got Trouble Walking on cassette around here somewhere. But these are the only vinyl records of Kiss I've got, and I've got a collection of Kiss CDs. So I don't know where they're at, and I got a whole collection of Kiss beer stein wine glasses that are in the cabinet in the dining room that I haven't even opened, but maybe a couple of times over the years. Um, Action figures, comic books. I had really loved this band, and it's just a very, very sad time right now, and we're all just in shock. No pun intended. So, Ace, we're gonna miss you. I thank you for everything you've done. Your you contributed to making our lives a little bit better. When I saw y'all in 2000, it was a dream come true. You are definitely the 2000 man, and you continue to shock me. So, this is Revolution Ricky signing off here in my house, in my office, at Casa de Revolution. Keep spinning that vinyl. Keep spinning that vinyl. And CDs.